Hey, hello, and good morning, everybody. I hope everybody is doing really, really well. It is Thursday morning, and we are going to be doing some wrapping up in our academy. So this week, what we cover is lesson 3 in the Thinking into Results program. And in short, it's a lesson where people really learn how to make a very quick paradigm shift in their life. For those of you who are watching me today live on maybe for the first time, you're not in the academy. I'm streaming into a different group. We've got a couple of groups out there, plus I'm also streaming into YouTube. For those of you that don't know me, well, what I do is I have a wonderful group of people. We have a group we call the Academy of Thinking into Results. So we teach people how to think about the result they want in their life and work back from there. It's a little bit more complicated than that. It's not as easy and as straightforward as that, but they're following a proven system where we have so many testimonials from all people of all ages and races and religions and sex and the whole lot from different countries and different backgrounds, all headed towards the same place where they're living their life, where their personal and professional lives are in a real harmony, and they're very happy about that. So good morning, especially to everybody who's watching me live in the academy today. I'm going to be directing this lesson to you guys and everybody who's watching us in the Thoughts Become Things community or live on YouTube. Welcome along, letting you have a little bit of a look behind the curtain of what we do every day. So everybody, I started half of the chapter yesterday on the effects of thought and character with As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. I am going to come back to that at the end of the lesson. I'll probably be here for about 50 minutes. I'm not going to do a full hour today because I have got 3 little suited and booted kiddos that are going to be jumping into the salt water in the next few hours. They have to go to kayaking camp, and it's Daddy Day. It's Daddy's taxi today, so I'm going to be heading off soon. But before I head off, happy Thursday, Ernestine. Happy Thursday to all of you. I've got a really amazing announcement. So wonderful news was confirmed last night on August the 30th at 8 p.m. Irish time. A gentleman by the name of Bob Proctor will be going live for an interview with myself. So more details will be announced to everybody here in the academy over the coming days and weeks. We'll be putting some announcements out in the portal. I have to just confirm if Bob is going to teach us for an hour or if it's going to be an open Q&A. But if it is going to be an open Q&A, I'll be asking you guys to, send in some questions, and we'll do our best to get as many of those answered. If it's a lesson, then let's just sit back and take it all in, because it's a beautiful opportunity. He's very excited about it. He just loves dealing with people over here in Ireland, and some of his favorite inspiration has come from our extraordinary poets and writers that we've sent, that this information has been sent out around the world from. And he's a big fan of Dr. Joseph Murphy as well, a huge influence on Bob. So we're going to, that's just something to celebrate this morning. This week, if you think about it, we've been, especially on our Tuesday night meeting, we looked at how so many times, maybe even multiple times a day, certainly multiple times a week, our lives and the direction and how we thought our day was going to go was diverted because of somebody else or something else that happened. Certain things, like a few years ago, the ash cloud from Iceland prevented travel between Ireland and the UK, and I think other, obviously, Scandinavian countries and things like that. Maybe you were going to take your darling loved one off to Paris a few years ago, and this horrible terrorism attack started happening in various places. Probably didn't end up having the most romantic time. You probably didn't, probably left the tickets in the hotel go and didn't head there. These are happening all the time, and it doesn't have to be a global event. It can be. I know, for example, when I was running my clinic, when I started studying personal development, I really wanted to improve the income for myself and my family. My wife had a steady income as a teacher, but I wanted to grow my business. So when you're self-employed, you're every day that you don't earn that money, you're never going to get that back. And when you live here in Southwest Kerry, there's 2 kind of big towns, Carsaveen and Waterville. And my clients, there was a few clients that were coming in from Waterville to Carsaveen, but the bridge was flooded. The River Inny had burst its banks. And by the time they would have been able to divert, they'd have to go back up to the church, drive 5 or 6 miles over to Drummond, up over the hill and into Carsaveen that way. Their hour session would have been gone. So that morning, I was going in that morning and I heard all the bridges out, and I was like, oh, flip it. And sure enough, cancellation after cancellation. And it was like 40 quid a session. So I was never going to earn back about 120 to 160 euros. And that was very hard and difficult and hurtful, but this was happening a lot before I started studying thinking into results, and before I was doing what you guys are doing. I kind of had a hope that things would go well, but some sort of a deep-rooted expectancy that it would not go well. And it was very tiring. It was very draining to be fighting against intellectual ideas and deep subconscious rooted beliefs, because the beliefs were what was vibrating out from me. Like, we are a vibrating massive energy. Sometimes when you go into a room or when you're with somebody and you kind of sense, oh, there's something off. Even last night I was on a call and one of my colleagues jumped onto the call, and I was like, I haven't heard from her in ages. And I started going, is she okay with me? Is everything all right? And I actually just stopped and I used my intuition. And I think she's just going through a bit of a rut at the moment. So I reached out, I said, hey, let's chat after the weekend, see how you're doing. I think she's just at a crossroads. But it was a hunch I got, even though she's on a small little picture on Zoom. It was just a hunch that I got. There was 11 of us on the call last night, me and my coach and 10 other people. And I'm just in a really good vibration at the moment and feeling amazing. And he says, okay, who's the person? Look at the screen. Who's the person that I'm going to put on the hot seat? And I was like, I have it. And he was like, who? And I named him. And he started laughing and I started laughing. And your man was like, me? How did you know me? I said, it's obvious. And he was like, yeah, it's obvious. So, when you're in that kind of a vibration, you pick up on your intuition. And I knew this guy needed help. My mentor knew he needed help. And they popped him on the hot seat, and everyone of the group coached him. So these are these deep-rooted feelings and beliefs that you're sending out all the time. And you pick them up about other people. And I know you do. You might be watching this on YouTube or watching this on Thoughts Become Things. I think people who are in the academy are probably a lot more open-minded. And yeah, I know what you mean, Declan, but some of you are like, oh, I don't know if that's true. But you do it all the time. You just get intuitions, you get a hunch, you pick up on a feeling and you act on it. Or sometimes you don't act on it, and then you'll have an outcome that you don't want. And then you'll say, I had a feeling and I kind of knew it was going to happen. I kind of expected it. So the expectancy and the belief is like your inner guidance system. And it's really powerful. And an awful lot of people don't tap into that at all. And they have a more difficult life than is necessary. When you tap into it and when you become very decisive, like we were having a wonderful, the team are just incredible. The service they give to you guys behind the scenes and the service they give to people who've not yet joined us, in the way we're putting out our message and in the fonts and the graphics, and they just want everything to be just so. And we were having a few messages over and back, and will we do this? And I was like, you know what? No, because I was thinking intellectually, I was like, yeah, well, I suppose we could, but I wanted the deep-rooted feeling to be the most powerful one. And that's not because there's anything special about me. It's just a new habit I've formed over years. How do I want it to be? This way. Okay, then this is what we do. Quick decision making. It's really, really helpful for everyone to move forward. And that is something you learn over time when you stop living a life where the tail is wagging the dog and you're the dog and you wag that tail. You realize that life shouldn't be wagging you around the place. Life shouldn't be kind of going, oh, look, here's a drama. Okay, good. There's been no drama for a week. Oh, here's another drama. Oh, okay. I just, you know what? I just need to sit down now. I just need to get a glass of wine. I'll be fine. You're just kind of skipping from drama to drama. Dramas are not going to go away, but your experience of them your experience of your life becomes so great, and these become just tiny little fires. Think of a wildfire and think of a small little flickering candle, and you go like, these dramas become so small and insignificant the more that you make the journey that you're on in this world the most significant part of your journey. Like, I'm not saying ignore your responsibilities, ignore your, hugging your children and doing your coloring with them, or calling on your mom or your nana, or like putting this yoke away and connecting with someone in a room instead of going, yeah, like, I'm not saying you need to, I'm actually saying the opposite. I'm saying you really need to focus on what's really important, and those connections, and the connection with yourself, the connection with nature, the connection with your food, the connection with your downtime, that you sleep really well, that you look after yourself well, you look after what's important. But yeah, certainly look after your goal as well. Like, have a goal that is going to define your life, that's going to take you in the direction you want to go. and get after it every day and do what you need to get done to make that happen. When you're living your life like that, you'll see just in the periphery, you'll see those dramas that are taking those around you into roller coasters of emotions. I'm sure people who are even with us, even just for a hop, skip, and a jump, even if people are with us and they're only on lesson 3, they can already see that they've shifted away from that 97% of people that are going from drama to drama to drama to drama, problem to problem, unexpected outcome to unexpected outcome. They see those things happening, but they're not being affected by them because they're now affecting a change in their lives. And it's just a remarkable way to live. I'm not saying there's anything better or worse than any of us. We just are kind of doing things with a little bit more of a different level of awareness. Okay, so I just want to say good morning again, and thank you for all being here. And I'm going to read out some comments in a moment, but there's something I want to share with you. There's 2 things that I suppose I really listen to a lot. I want to give a tip of the hat there to Mr. Carl O'Connell. We had a great chat yesterday, and I was wondering what all the fuss was about. I'd heard some great things about Carl. You see, somebody welcomed Carl into our company, and then Laura had an onboarding, and I got this comment like, "Oh, Carl's a legend," and I like having these little ridiculous associations when it comes to memory. So when I think of Paul and Sarah, I think of their trip to Belfast. When I think of Avril, I think of her book. When I think of Rachel, I think of her traveling. And I remember a lot of things. Deirdre and her family were traveling around Valentia Island with me for a drive when they were down, and she was saying, and like, do you keep loads of notes? I was like, no, I remember this story Noel told me, and I remember Alan's thing, and I remember this, and I have a good old memory for ridiculous association and trying to, because all of the stories you guys tell me, they all knit together in that tapestry that is your journey with us through the academy. But one thing anyway that Carl said to me yesterday was how his goals are recorded and he listens over them. And I don't think he'll mind me sharing that. I encourage everyone to do that, because I'm a type of a learner that if I'm studying something, like these are my AirPods cases, so I could be doing that, or I could be bouncing a ball. I think it's kinetic learning, is that right? I love to coach walking around. I don't do as well sitting in the office doing Zoom calls. I get my earphones in and I walk around my garden, I walk around my house. I sometimes walk around the island doing it if the weather is good. I like to get up and walk around and read out my chapters of Think and Grow Rich that I'm learning. I read them out loud out in the garden or in my bedroom or in the office. Can't really walk around this office, it's not big enough, but my studio will be. And that's a really good thing to do. What Carl's doing is he's read his goal into an audio and he listens to it over and over. And I just like to tell people, when I did acupuncture, I like to tell people why it's working. And I like to tell Carl, and I like to tell all of you why it's working. Well, why it's working is autosuggestion is just changing your paradigm. It's like if you're driving from Cahersiveen to Waterville and Cahersiveen is congested, there's not too many ways around it. There's a couple of roads, but they're very narrow and not very easy to drive around. So if I was a road planner and it was continually being congested, I could just quickly build a ring road around it while I was going back to sort out the main street. That ring road is like a bypass. And when you're auto-suggesting, you're bypassing your present paradigm. So I coached a woman this morning in Australia, and she says, it makes me almost cry. That was one word she said, thinking about this. And the other thing she said was, it's driving me bloody mad. So like, that's not small. Like for her to say those things means like that's going on inside as well. It's not just flippant throwaway comments. There's deep stuff there as well. It's making me want to cry. And she's talking about a really beautiful goal. It's making me want to cry. And it's so bloody hard. Like, if she can say that casually, then she's thinking that very deeply. And I was like, that's not in line with your goal. So I told her, stop working for the weekend, get a massage, listen to some music, just stop. I said, the tail is wagging the dog here. Like, you're not in control at all. So her paradigm is running amok. Well, what Carl is doing, and what I would be doing as that road planner, is you're not doing a cheat sheet. You're not wrongly bypassing it, but you are making a change happen. Now, ultimately, you are going to have to go back and fix those paradigms anyway. I mean, that may come up for her again, even if somebody came along and said, ta-da, here's your goal, she's still got that paradigm. You know, she can't wake up and not have her first name. She can't wake up and not be the height she is. Look, her paradigm is deep rooted and it's going to be there, but there's a lot of the beliefs and the recurring habits that don't have to be there. But if she bypasses it with auto-suggestion, or this is why lotto winners sometimes end up having a chaotic life, because they've gotten a result that they think they've always wanted, but they are the same people with a different set of results. And your paradigm is a way of bringing it back to where you were. The external stuff, we spend too much time working on the external stuff and chasing these dreams. And when I say we, I'm not talking about us in the academy, because I'm forever belting home the idea that, yes, I love that you're getting like really good business results and really good, moving into new houses and things like that. But I want you to get this information into the core of your being. I want you to be able to know how to teach this to your family if they're interested, or to your children if you have them, or to be this kind of a person if you're going to open your own business, to be a leader who thinks, acts, and feels about how they want the outcome to be and stays loyal to that, not lowering their standards to other people's levels of chaos. You have to be the leader of one and be the leader of yourself. So that's what we do in the academy. That's what we do with Thinking to Results. That's what we do with paradigm shifting, is we're helping each individual to think and feel and act as they want to in accordance with their goals, and making themselves pretty much the most important person. Even if you're a parent, even if you're a single parent and you say, look, Declan, I don't have the luxury of making myself the most important person. Well, then you're missing out. And to be honest, your kids are missing out, because a lot of people are like, I don't have time now to work on myself. I've got to do it for them. Well, they'll never get the best of you, and you'll never get the best of you if you don't take you time. And you time with a bath is nice. You time with a walk in the woods with a friend is nice. But you time on a constant basis where you're thinking, how do I want it to be? How do I feel I want it to be? What actions can I take to make that happen? It's just glorious. So when Carl is auto-suggesting his goal to himself, he's not really changing his paradigm on a deep level, but he is going to change his paradigm. And my work with this gentleman and his work with all of you, his wonderful colleagues, over the next number of months will be ultimately changing the real deep-rooted paradigm. But auto-suggestion will skip over. Now, two things that I auto-suggested over the years. Some of them I've played from you before. It was, the clip called Dream Motivation. If you type in Dream Motivation Les Brown into YouTube, the first line is, I don't know what dream it is that you have. I don't care how disappointing it might have been, as you've been working towards that dream. So I've listened to that sometimes twice a day if I've had 2 showers, because when I go into the shower, I put that video on and I put my phone high up where the metal rail is. We've got this lovely glass kind of a thing in our shower, and there's a metal rail that fixes it to the wall. My phone balances on the metal rail. The sound goes off the tiles, and it's about 5 minutes and 36 seconds, and that's my shower time. So it's like I press play, get the hair done, and get all that bits done, and next thing you know, I'm walking out just as the clip ends. So it's amazing for water conservation as well. But that's auto-suggesting. He goes, I want to get people, you got to surround yourself with people who are hungry, people who are not going to take no for an answer. You got to attach yourself to people who want to win. And I listened to this before I started working in personal development, before I started being a client or a student of personal development. So auto-suggesting to my subconscious that I had to surround myself with a different group of people than I had surrounded myself with. It's like Liverpool Arsenal 4 o'clock Sunday. What do you think? I was like, I'm in, no bother, let's do it. And then Friday, Saturday, I'd be like turning on the charm. Honey, like I'll do this and I'll do that. Listen, look, the lads around it, and you know them now, like they're thinking maybe we'd go for a few pints, see the game. It's like, and it's like, because I've been such a good boy Friday, Saturday. She's like, go on, do you know what? You deserve a pint. And then bad head Monday, not feeling great Tuesday, probably depressed Wednesday. And that was a bit of a cycle, These were my old habits. And then I started listening to Les Brown every day and saying, it's not over until I win. You can live your dream. And this was going in. And this was in harmony with my spiritual belief that there was more to life than the life I was living. And there's more to me. And, but that inner feeling of there's more to me, and then this constant awareness that it was impossible to change my life, was really frustrating. And sure, no wonder you'd go and you'd drink something to change your state. or you'd watch some stuff just to change your state. Because if you're somebody that's listening to the spiritual insight going, come on, there's more to life. Come on, you can do more, you can have more, you can be more, you can give more, you can serve more. There's more to you, Dick. Come on. That becomes very frustrating when you don't get a place to you don't see the output. You can actually start to not like something about yourself. So personal development just plunged a pipe right down into the earth and let this geyser shoot up. It was like personal development was like plunging that pipe into myself and allowing the best of me to just go right out into the future. But auto-suggestion did it. So when Carl's listening to his goal, he's auto-suggesting and he's starting to feel and see results. Les Brown was auto-suggesting every time I went for a shower. And then another clip I started to watch really got me going. So I'm going to share that with you today. And the reason I'm sharing it with you today was this week it would have been my brother's birthday, James. He passed on some years ago. And coincidentally, and in a very strange way, I suppose, my little niece, who spent 5 days in the world this year, she was born and spent 5 days in the world and decided to go to her heavenly home. Her name was Willow. Her due date was actually the same day as my brother's birthday, which was quite powerful and quite extraordinary, really, when you think about it. Very gets you really kind of moved and really thinking about it. So that happened in the last couple of days. It would have been her birthday, and it would have been my brother's birthday on the same day. So there's a clip, there's a piece in the clip that I'm about to share with you all, and it's my second auto suggestion that really started the ball rolling for me before I went to Tony Robbins' event, before I started investing money that I didn't have to study with Bob Proctor. These two clips really blew me away. So I'm going to share the second one with you now. I want you to enjoy it. You've probably seen it before, but I think you're going to watch it with a whole different set of eyes, and you're going to hear it with a whole different set of emotions, watching it in a group environment. So it is the clip by the absolutely marvelous Steve Jobs. And it's from his commencement speech at Stanford University. And he talks about 3 life lessons. And the one was the one where he was faced with death. He developed cancer, and death came along and really sent his life in a new direction. And I believe that watching this over and over gave me a lot of a no-nonsense approach to life. You know, I used to look at people like Joanna O'Riordan, who was born without limbs in this country, and other people, and I'd look at them and I'd go, if they can do it and I can't, I'm such a effing waster. And that's all I heard in my mind. You're such a effing waster. And I'd look at these people to motivate myself, and I'd look at videos of people who, you know, they were like 25 stone and then they turned their life around and now they were fitness models or something. And you're such a waster. That's all I listened to from my own inner dialogue. But then when I started listening to Steve Jobs, this video really started the ball rolling. So I want to share it with you today, especially because I was reminded about the vulnerability in the short span of life that we have, and how lucky we are to be here at this time, in this moment in humanity and in history, because others just somehow are dealt a different hand, and they don't, like James had an intellectual disability, so forever he needed constant help and supervision for all of his basic needs. Never prepped his own meal, you know, never went to the toilet by himself, always needed someone there. And look at what we have. You know, if you're watching this, you're watching it on a device that's connected to the internet, probably wirelessly. Come on, guys, we really have an amazing opportunity in front of us to just do what we want. So let's listen to Steve Jobs together, and I want you to really listen to this like you've never really listened to it before. I think you'll be really glad you did. So here we go.
This program is brought to you by Stanford University. Please visit us at stanford.edu.
Thank you. I'm honored to be with you today for your commencement from one of the finest universities in the world. Truth be told, I never graduated from college, and this is the closest I've ever gotten to a college graduation. Today, I want to tell you 3 stories from my life. That's it. No big deal. Just 3 stories. The first story is about connecting the dots. I dropped out of Reed College after the first 6 months, but then stayed around as a drop-in for another 18 months or so before I really quit. So why'd I drop out? It started before I was born. My biological mother was a young, unwed graduate student, and she decided to put me up for adoption. She felt very strongly that I should be adopted by college graduates, so everything was all set for me to be adopted at birth by a lawyer and his wife. Except that when I popped out, they decided at the last minute that they really wanted a girl. So my parents, who were on a waiting list, got a call in the middle of the night asking, "We've got an unexpected baby boy. Do you want him?" They said, "Of course." My biological mother found out later that my mother had never graduated from college and that my father had never graduated from high school. She refused to sign the final adoption papers. She only relented a few months later when my parents promised that I would go to college. This was the start in my life. And 17 years later, I did go to college. But I naively chose a college that was almost as expensive as Stanford. And all of my working class parents' savings were being spent on my college tuition. After 6 months, I couldn't see the value in it. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life and no idea how college was going to help me figure it out. And here I was spending all of the money my parents had saved their entire life. So I decided to drop out and trust that it would all work out okay. It was pretty scary at the time, but looking back, it was one of the best decisions I ever made. The minute I dropped out, I could stop taking the required classes that didn't interest me and begin dropping in on the ones that looked far more interesting. It wasn't all romantic. I didn't have a dorm room, so I slept on the floor in friends' rooms. I returned Coke bottles for the 5-cent deposits to buy food with. And I would walk the 7 miles across town every Sunday night to get one good meal a week at the Hare Krishna temple. I loved it. And much of what I stumbled into by following my curiosity and intuition turned out to be priceless later on. Let me give you one example. Reed College at that time offered perhaps the best calligraphy instruction in the country. Throughout the campus, every poster, every label on every drawer was beautifully hand calligraphed. Because I had dropped out and didn't have to take the normal classes, I decided to take a calligraphy class to learn how to do this. I learned about serif and sans serif typefaces, about varying the amount of space between different letter combinations, about what makes great typography great. It was beautiful, historical, artistically subtle in a way that science can't capture, and I found it fascinating. None of this had even a hope of any practical application in my life. But 10 years later, when we were designing the first Macintosh computer, it all came back to me. And we designed it all into the Mac. It was the first computer with beautiful typography. If I had never dropped in on that single course in college, the Mac would have never had multiple typefaces or proportionally spaced fonts. And since Windows just copied the Mac, it's likely that no personal computer would have them. If I had never dropped out, I would have never dropped in on that calligraphy class, and personal computers might not have the wonderful typography that they do. Of course, it was impossible to connect the dots looking forward when I was in college, but it was very, very clear looking backwards 10 years later. Again, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. Because believing that the dots will connect down the road will give you the confidence to follow your heart, even when it leads you off the well-worn path, and that will make all the difference. My second story is about love and loss. I was lucky. I found what I loved to do early in life. Woz and I started Apple in my parents' garage when I was 20. We worked hard, and in 10 years, Apple had grown from just the two of us in a garage into a $2 billion company with over 4,000 employees. We just released our finest creation, the Macintosh, a year earlier, and I just turned 30. And then I got fired. How can you get fired from a company you started? Well, as Apple grew, we hired someone who I thought was very talented to run the company with me. And for the first year or so, things went well. But then our visions of the future began to diverge, and eventually we had a falling out. When we did, our board of directors sided with him. And so at 30, I was out, and very publicly out. What had been the focus of my entire adult life was gone, and it was devastating. I really didn't know what to do for a few months. I felt that I had let the previous generation of entrepreneurs down, that I had dropped the baton as it was being passed to me. I met with David Packard and Bob Noyce and tried to apologize for screwing up so badly. I was a very public failure, and I even thought about running away from the Valley. But something slowly began to dawn on me. I still loved what I did. The turn of events at Apple had not changed that one bit. I'd been rejected, but I was still in love. And so I decided to start over. I didn't see it then, but it turned out that getting fired from Apple was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. The heaviness of being successful was replaced by the lightness of being a beginner again, less sure about everything. It freed me to enter one of the most creative periods of my life. During the next 5 years, I started a company named Next, another company named Pixar, and fell in love with an amazing woman who would become my wife. Pixar went on to create the world's first computer animated feature film, Toy Story, and is now the most successful animation studio in the world. In a remarkable turn of events, Apple bought Next, and I returned to Apple, and the technology we developed at Next is at the heart of Apple's current renaissance. And Lorene and I have a wonderful family together. I'm pretty sure none of this would have happened if I hadn't been fired from Apple. It was awful tasting medicine, but I guess the patient needed it. Sometimes life's going to hit you in the head with a brick. Don't lose faith. I'm convinced that the only thing that kept me going was that I loved what I did. You've got to find what you love. And that is as true for work as it is for your lovers. Your work is going to fill a large part of your life. And the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking and don't settle. As with all matters of the heart, you'll know when you find it. And like any great relationship, it just gets better and better as the years roll on. So keep looking, don't settle. My third story is about death. When I was 17, I read a quote that went something like, "If you live each day as if it was your last, someday you'll most certainly be right." It made an impression on me. And since then, for the past 33 years, I've looked in the mirror every morning and asked myself, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I am about to do today? And whenever the answer has been no for too many days in a row, I know I need to change something. Remembering that I'll be dead soon is the most important tool I've ever encountered to help me make the big choices in life. Because almost everything, all external expectations, all pride, all fear of embarrassment or failure, these things just fall away in the face of death, leaving only what is truly important. Remembering that you are going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. You are already naked. There is no reason not to follow your heart. About a year ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. I had a scan at 7:30 in the morning, and it clearly showed a tumor on my pancreas. I didn't even know what a pancreas was. The doctors told me this was almost certainly a type of cancer that is incurable, and that I should expect to live no longer than 3 to 6 months. My doctor advised me to go home and get my affairs in order, which is doctor's code for prepare to die. It means to try and tell your kids everything you thought you'd have the next 10 years to tell them in just a few months. It means to make sure everything is buttoned up so that it will be as easy as possible for your family. It means to say your goodbyes. I lived with that diagnosis all day. Later that evening, I had a biopsy where they stuck an endoscope down my throat, through my stomach and into my intestines, put a needle into my pancreas and got a few cells from the tumor. I was sedated, but my wife, who was there, told me that when they viewed the cells under a microscope, the doctors started crying because it turned out to be a very rare form of pancreatic cancer that is curable with surgery. I had the surgery, and thankfully, I'm fine now. This was the closest I've been to facing death, and I hope it's the closest I get for a few more decades. Having lived through it, I can now say this to you with a bit more certainty than when death was a useful but purely intellectual concept. No one wants to die. Even people who want to go to heaven don't want to die to get there. And yet, death is the destination we all share. No one has ever escaped it. And that is as it should be, because death is very likely the single best invention of life. It's life's change agent. It clears out the old to make way for the new. Right now, the new is you. But someday, not too long from now, you will gradually become the old and be cleared away. Sorry to be so dramatic, but it's quite true. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary. When I was young, there was an amazing publication called the Whole Earth Catalog, which was one of the Bibles of my generation. It was created by a fellow named Stuart Brand, not far from here in Menlo Park, and he brought it to life with his poetic touch. This was in the late 60s, before personal computers and desktop publishing, so it was all made with typewriters, scissors, and Polaroid cameras. It was sort of like Google in paperback form 35 years before Google came along. It was idealistic, overflowing with neat tools and great notions. Stuart and his team put out several issues of the Whole Earth Catalog, and then, when it had run its course, they put out a final issue. It was the mid-1970s, and I was your age. On the back cover of their final issue was a photograph of an early morning country road, the kind you might find yourself hitchhiking on if you were so adventurous. Beneath it were the words, "Stay hungry, stay foolish." It was their farewell message as they signed off. Stay hungry, stay foolish. And I have always wished that for myself. And now, as you graduate to begin anew, I wish that for you. Stay hungry, stay foolish. Thank you all very much.
And thank you all very much. Okay. And thank you all very much for watching. All right, Steve, there we go. Okay, thank you all very much for watching. So let's see, I'll take myself back on again, and now I'm not frozen. So that was really interesting. I wonder, yeah, why is it freezing over there? Oh, very good. So Patricia says, good morning, everyone. About a month in the academy, I definitely see less drama in my life, not because it doesn't happen, but because I've moved much quicker than I did in the past. That's really cool. Let's see. Back in here. All right, are we good? Are we back on? It keeps freezing. I don't know why that is. So let me know if you can see me over there. Everybody who's watching, I'll have a quick look and see if I'm still on. And if I'm not, well, so be it. It's frozen. Can I hear myself? Yeah. Everybody who's watching, I'll have a quick look. Okay, I can hear myself, but it's frozen. So let's I'll smile like this. Okay, so that's a bit better than the face I had. I'll just continue on anyway. So guys, we're going to bring it in for a bit of a landing. Everybody who's here from the Academy, we're back next week with lesson 4. And what we're going to be doing is taking a much, much deeper dive into the stick figure, really analyzing the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, the body, and action versus reaction. Sorry, not action versus reaction, the action and reaction, and how we get a perfect balance of the thoughts, how we choose them, how we accept the ones we want and reject, how we go about rejecting the ones we don't want. And we're gonna have a great week. It's very strange actually why my camera keeps freezing, but I don't know. We'll figure it out because I can see I have a very funny expression over on the Zoom call as well. So I'm gonna have a quick read through some comments on Zoom. Katrina, wonderful speech from Steve Jobs, powerful stuff, very powerful speech. Thanks for sharing, says Denise. Sarah Jane, and says I'm back again, but I'm all frozen. Yeah, but it's fine. You know, I used to love that when the audio visuals or the microphone or something would stop working up in, let's say, the Rose Hotel or up in Galway or somewhere, because it gave me a great opportunity to show the people in the audience that I was able to maintain my attitude. I mean, apparently on the scale of fears, public speaking ranks higher than death. Fear of public speaking ranks higher. So if I was up there doing some public speaking and the audio visuals wasn't working or the microphone wasn't working or something, and I still carried on, give people a great opportunity to say, okay, he's learned how to maintain a good attitude. You know, maybe I can learn something from this guy. So the same today when our video is not working and I've got that really strange expression, I can still coach away. As Avril says, what an inspirational and humble man. I love his words. Follow your heart and your intuition. Well, a really lovely Kerryman by the name of Michael Fassbender. He played Steve Jobs in a movie. Kate Winslet was his assistant. I really encourage anyone who wants to stay true to their goal and bring their dream to reality to watch it, because look, it's a depiction of the gentleman. I don't know if it's an accurate depiction. I know, for example, Oliver Stone did a video, did a movie about, it was called JFK, and I think the people he played, some of the people complained that their characters weren't done right. I know that happens after a movie. Someone's like, no, that's not the way it was. I don't want that to be the way I was portrayed. And I think Steve Jobs was a lot nicer than the man who's portrayed, but he's portrayed as very bullish and just his dream is as important. And actually in this movie, his dream is more important than his daughter. And I don't know if that's particularly accurate. I like Avril's interpretation. What an inspirational and humble man. He changed the world, and he's definitely one of my idols that I look up to. I can see that, yeah, if that movie is correct, if he was that harsh and he was that difficult to work for, then, you know, sometimes people in leadership positions don't really know how to have that balance of kindness and definiteness of purpose. But nonetheless, I believe his inventions and his gifts he's brought to the world has changed the world for the better in many, many ways. But I love that when he died, everybody at his funeral was handed out a book called the Autobiography of a Yoga by, oh God, what's it called? The Autobiography of a Yogi. I can't think of the name of the author, Prashananda. So I can't think of the name, but it's supposed to be an incredible read. And when Mark Zuckerberg was starting out with Facebook, Steve Jobs encouraged him to leave everything behind in America and go and spend a few weeks at this retreat in India and connect to the more important things in life. So he was quite an interesting gentleman. But I do love the speech that he says, knowing that we're all going to die is a great little motivator, and it's the common denominator we all have. But anyway, I hope you got something from it today. For those of us who had a very amazing night on Tuesday night, where we all went into our breakout rooms and we discussed moments in our life where things were kind of forced upon us to react to and respond to. And now at TIR, we're laying down the line and we're drawing a line in the sand and we're saying, I'm making this change happen in my life. For those of us who are doing that, this speech by Steve Jobs is worth listening to a few more times, because as Patricia said over in the Facebook group, you know, she's a month with us now, and she realizes that she's not as, you know, these dramas are happening, but she's not reacting to the drama. She's the captain of her ship. She's left the port. She's heading to the other destination. Yes, there'll be flat calm seas. There'll be storms. She might go off course a little bit, but she'll be back on course and she will sail comfortably into port as well. So I want all of you to remember what we did this week together, and have a lovely weekend. Be kind to yourself, and get yourself ready for another great week starting Monday next. And again, just a reminder, Bob will be joining us on August the 30th. So if you're watching this in the Thoughts Become Things group, reach out to your success advisor, connect with them, and they'll help you to get into our next group. We don't want it to be full of people who are just filling it up. We want people who are going to participate. This is a very powerful masterclass. And if you're going to be part of it, I want you to reach out to your success advisor and ask them if you can be invited. That's the only place that you're going to get to spend that time with us and with Bob Proctor on the 30th of August. So it's a brand new group, and the Thoughts Become Things group is not going to be where we're hosting this masterclass. And yes, go and talk to your success advisor, open up that conversation, connect with them, and get the absolute best out of this. All right, everybody, take care. Everyone in the Academy, lots of love. Have a great weekend. I'm on coaching calls with some of you guys today, and I'm really looking forward to it. And yeah, stay foolish and have fun. Bye, everybody.